Hey, and welcome to the Victor Podcast. I'm so excited to see you here today. And I believe the next few minutes will leave you excited, inspired, and willing to step into the world feeling brave and bold. This is the Victor Podcast, where small wins become big victories. I'm so excited to bring you a second edition. We're talking about small wins and big victories. Let me start with a story. A few days ago, I ran 1 mile. Yes, I was so excited I was able to complete that mile. Now, for those who have followed me for a while, you might be wondering, Victor, but we know you run longer than that before. Or we know that you've actually even done a half marathon before. What's so exciting about 1 mile? Now, I'll break that down to you. And I'll start by telling you about the mind. The mind is like a muscle, and we exercise it daily depending on the way we think. So if you want to think big, you have to take those small steps. You want to think a million, you might want to think of 50,000, 100,000, 300,000. Now, why has this really come to mind for me? And why is this something so close to my heart for the second edition of the Victor Podcast? As we've known, we've been in lockdown for a while and the world came to a shutdown. Everybody moved online and was sharing information out there. And we have different platforms, social media platforms, great ones like Clubhouse, Instagram, Facebook, and everyone goes out there to either watch live videos or to learn from others who've taken the steps and gone ahead of them. And every time I listen to people talking, I'm just taking it and learning everything. But I've come to realize that most of the information that was put out there were by people who've gone way ahead. And I kept on thinking, how does the mind of somebody who cannot comprehend earning 5,000, 10,000 pounds begin to comprehend earning 1 million? You might be thinking, Victor, are you trying to tell us to start thinking small? No, this is not what this podcast is about. I am a transformational speaker, and I believe in the power of the process. And if you check out the meaning of the process, it says it's little changes that you make that will eventually create a massive difference or a big change in your life. So that's why, as a transformation speaker, I look at the process one step at a time. Because when you look at the big picture at the end of the day, you could feel overwhelmed. And that could be enough for you to stand away and think, I'm not going to do this because it feels too big for me. I heard a story of someone who was talking to a security guard. And the security guard was asked the question, are you going to be a security guard for the rest of your life? He said, yeah, I'm going to do it. And that was it. That was back in Nigeria. So he said to him, what are your goals? What's your dreams? He now said, well, he heard that the security guards across the other town are being paid 45,000 naira. Now he was earning 20,000. So his dream is to go to the next town and earn 45,000 naira. For him, that is a big dream. He had was not thinking at all about a career change. All he was thinking about, you know what, I'm going to stay here where I am because I believe that as far as he could see was just earning that 45,000 naira. Now, if that's what he wants to do and that's what he's happy about and that gives him fulfillment, there is no problem at all. But if you're listening to this podcast and you're somebody who is hungry, who says, you know what, I want more for my life. I want to grow myself. I want to take myself to the next level. Then this is for you. I've got special guests coming around. I've got people who from different places, different parts of the world, from Uganda to the United States, to the UK, to Nigeria, people who are in different levels of their businesses. And they will come and share with you how they've taken these little steps that have created big victories for them. And I think that's what's really important. I give you a story. I was on a webinar. And I was listening to everything that I was teaching. It was such a powerful webinar. I was learning so much value coming out of it. And I'm that kind of person who's quite curious because when I go on social media and go on places, I read comments because I'm trying to understand how people's level of understanding is even in the same area. And sometimes I learn a lot from the people's way of thinking or perspectives by reading comments on social media. And while I was looking at it, this was a powerful webinar about making millions from the internet. So that means most people that were here were interested in learning how they could make a lot of money through the internet. And while I was listening, and the money, they're calling it millions and millions, people were telling stories of how many millions they've made over the years from the internet and even through the pandemic. I now caught a comment which actually asked, what is Clubhouse? Now, the speaker mentioned and asked the question if any people, those who were on the call, met him for the first time on Clubhouse, which is an app. And somebody now asks the question, what is Clubhouse? And that's what really got me thinking, as in, if you're on a webinar that is there to show you how to make millions online, and you don't know what Clubhouse is, which is an online platform where people hang out and meet, which is an app, then I began to think, should this person really be on this webinar? Is this webinar possibly too advanced for them? Can their mind comprehend the actions that we are being asked to take on this webinar? Now, I'm not sharing this because I'm any better than this person. I might have got that comment wrong, but I just saw a thought in my mind and in my head. I said, if you don't know what Clubhouse is at this stage, then you need to learn a lot more about the internet first, or what's available out there first, before you come on there. Or you might be thinking, well, that's why the person is there, to learn and to find out about these things. But with the nature of the webinar, I sort of thought maybe a bit too advanced. And that's where my thinking began to go around, what am I going to focus on this second edition of my podcast? And that's why I decided to focus on these small wins and big victories. I decided to focus on how can we follow these processes, take these small wins until we get to the big victories that we want in our lives. Now, why was I excited about running 1 mile? I'll take you back to that. It was because last year I ran a marathon. And during the lockdown, I got into running on a full scale. And I started from running 5 kilometers to running 5 miles. And I went up to 7.5 miles. Then I went on to 10 miles. Then I went up to 13.1, where I ran a half marathon. Now, these incremental steps I took, I literally just went from 5 miles to 7.5 miles. And because I understand the power of the mind, I used my mind to get my body moving. But I forgot that this body has its own limitations too. This body needs to be grown at a certain level. And because of these incrementals that I made too quickly, I hurt my knee. And so I have been out of running since the end of last year. For months, I've not been able to run because my knee had to heal totally. What happened there? I was increasing too quickly. And then obviously I crashed and burned. And that's where my knee started to hurt. And when I look back at this story, I look at it just like the mind, as I said earlier, the mind is like a muscle. You grow it step by step, step by step. When you start off, you find yourself in environments for your level you are. When you feel I've outgrown this environment, you move to the next one. And you just keep moving up. Tiny steps, creating those big victories and growing your life. And that's something that is so close to my heart, because a lot of people give up and stop because they get overwhelmed. They feel this is way too much for me. I can't do it, because they've taken on too much at one go. But when we begin to understand that we have this big ultimate goal, it could be 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, and we chunk it down to smaller levels. And that's what I'm trying to do in this podcast, to have a conversation with people who have been through these journeys, who will share how they are breaking these things down to small levels, so we can all learn and we can all grow together. So I want to encourage you, join me, keep an eye on it. Every Thursday for the next 10 weeks, I'll have a special podcast for you. I'll be interviewing people from across all areas, and they'll be sharing their stories with you to inspire you and to help you grow on your journey. My name is Victor Tarfa. I am a transformational speaker, and I'm excited about the Victor podcast. Let's go on this journey together. And wherever, either you listen to it or you watch it on my YouTube channel, I want to encourage you to share it with others, because I believe there's people out there who maybe are getting overwhelmed and they need to understand about the process and the small steps they need to take to grow themselves. So stay blessed, everybody. I love you all, and I'll see you on the next podcast. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. And I believe you've been inspired and you're super excited to step in that world, taking those small steps and celebrating the big victories. Remember to subscribe to the channel wherever you're watching us, wherever you're listening to this wonderful podcast. And you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and on Twitter at The Victor Charfa is the name, at The Victor Charfa, where you can get more information, get more inspiration, and more excitement. Thank you so much. Share this with your friends. Tell them about it. And I look forward to seeing you shortly on another powerful episode of the Victor Podcast. With small wins and big victories.